Hi, this is Judy from 50 Minutes of Fear, and I am joined once again with my brother to once again discuss Caveat because we did it yesterday and it was a great recording, and I did not tape it. So I didn't do that. So that was, we're doing it again. So good morning, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. And of course, Rich is the creator and participant in the Columbo podcast, which is A Rumpled Trench Coat. And where can we find that podcast, Rich?
You can find it at Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast on YouTube, and also the audio version on SoundCloud.
Okay, and make sure to like and subscribe to Rich's podcast. The other thing I had to tell you, and I was dying laughing, did you ever see the movie The Burbs with Tom
Yes,
Hanks?
I love that movie.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember this scene where it's all happened, everything's a problem, and he like basically tucks himself into the ambulance bed? He's like, "That's it. All right, I'm done. I've given
Yes.
up completely." That was me this morning. That was me this morning because we are getting some snow and it is gorgeous. And I know we're getting a blizzard and everyone's mad about it, but the snow right now is beautiful. It's coming down and I'm like, oh, I just want to sleep. I work so hard during the week. I work from the house, so I'm really never off the clock. And
Right.
I'm like, I just want to sleep. Nope. I don't know what got into my dogs, but the cat came upstairs, woke up the dogs. The dogs were inconsolable. I came downstairs. I live on 2 floors. I came downstairs. I gave the cat food. I gave the dogs food. I was like, okay, I just want to sleep for another, I don't know, hour. Just give me one more hour. So I'm laughing at that. And then I finally get, and I hear them barking up a storm. And I'm like, they're going to wake up Dominic. And Dominic was up later than I was last night.
Right.
So I'm like, this isn't, I'm not doing it. So I'm upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, downstairs. I'm finally like, all right, fine, fine. I give up. So I
Yep.
finally admitted defeat. Everyone got bones, everyone got treats. People are barking. I'm like, is there a possum outside? Because
Right.
my garbage pails are outside and Chloe can see them from the window. And so it was definitely not the smoothest way to wake up. So I'm very happy talking about Caveat this morning again. Again.
Yes.
So let's get into how was your morning, Rich? How are things calmer in
Well,
your
they
neck of the
they
woods?
are, but I did have a similar morning where I was just trying to sleep in, and Dolly just started barking for no reason whatsoever, jumped on my head, then jumped onto the floor, and then jumped back onto the bed to bark at Elvis, who did nothing wrong. And so then he got up and just nudged me out of bed till I got him outside. And I thought, well, all right, this is an interesting way to start today. So there must have been something in the air. I don't know if they were
Eh,
sensing blizzards or
I don't know if
incoming
it was
blizzard or anything.
squirrel alert. I don't know if
Right.
I don't know if it was just I have no idea. And I'm just like laughing because I was just like, I am officially Tom Hanks.
Right.
I'm
Yes,
gonna tuck
exactly. It's like,
myself into the
I'm
ambulance.
done.
I
I-
give up. Take
I'm
me
done.
away.
Yes.
Take
Yep.
me away.
It's over
you
for
know
me. I'm
it's
checking out.
over.
Yeah.
And it's so funny too because like I said, I just when you work from home, I feel like and this is my fault, but I feel like I'm never off the clock. Like I will get up and go back into my office. I'll get up and go back into my office and do
No, I
one
could
more
see
thing,
that.
one
I
more
could
thing.
easily see that. Yeah.
And even when I
Yep.
visited you and I was technically on vacation, I had
Right.
phone calls, I had meetings, and I'm like,
Sure.
you know what?
Yeah.
I just want to sleep.
Yeah.
Saw the film Caveat, and I have to say, I loved it. I loved this film. I think I loved this film more than I loved the second film that I saw by this director, Oddity. And I loved Oddity, but I have to tell you about this film. This film is a 2020 Irish horror film. I'm taking this from Wikipedia. And it is directed and edited by Damien McCarthy in his feature directorial debut. It stars Johnny French, who is just an angel baby. He is just such a good actor. And Layla Sykes. I'm not going to give the plot away right now, but I did want to tell you that this film got let's see, the Rotten Tomatoes score was really, really big. I think it was 83 or 84 on Rotten Tomato, and yeah, 83 on Rotten Tomato, and it was really well received, and obviously it was well received because there was a second film made by this directorial team. So I absolutely loved the movie. It is, again, I'll do my little I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday because we're doing it again. But so this is again the Irish filmmakers, and I was just commenting yesterday about how the pacing is so much different with the Irish films than it is with other countries' films and other styles, which is great. That's why I like watching films from around the world, because you do get little tastes of things. But I absolutely love this movie. There's not much to it. The cast is very, very small. I probably should have said this yesterday. The actor who played Mo, right? So
Yes.
Isaac is played by Johnny French. Olga is played by Layla Skikes. Mo Barrett, Olga's uncle, is played by Ben Kaplan. And then you have characters Olga's father, Olga's mother, and a dog.
Yeah.
Um, so Rich, what did you think about? Oh, it was, you know what? This again, Cork. The film, the filming took place in West Cork. I love Cork. I think in another world I lived in Cork, or I'm going to move to Cork. I love Cork. It's just I've only been there once, and it's just one of my all-time favorite places on the planet. So that's what I have to say about this movie. What do you think about this
Well,
movie?
I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was really kind of right up my alley, just like Oddity. So I think I really like this filmmaker's style, which is a slow burn, a sense of steady uneasiness throughout the entire movie, and just setting up impossible but also plausible scenarios, and then having just a completely supernatural element to it out of the blue, but also is a big part of the movie. And I really did love it. I thought it was great. I thought it was well made. You have a small cast of very good actors,
Yeah,
and it really, again, it helps to have something so grounded so that when you do bring in the supernatural, it makes it even scarier,
yeah,
but also somehow realistic. And you know, I think this turns out to be more of a fable than a horror film,
yeah,
but it definitely is a thriller, a horror film, a fable. They just really told a wonderful story in very little dialogue and very
yeah.
little exposition. They left a lot of unanswered questions, but I still felt satisfied. Like I didn't mind the questions that I didn't have answered. I
Right,
didn't mind. It wasn't
right.
like, oh, but what, you know, what was the point of any of that? You know, there was none of that. There were just some unanswered questions, which I was fine with.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point that I we didn't talk about yesterday, but this idea of supernatural, right? So again, comparing like movies of the world in some of the Asian movies and the Korean movie in particular that I'm thinking of, you assume ghosts, right? In some of the
Yeah.
Asian cultures, there's this assumption of your ghosts, and you're always surrounded by your loved ones and your people who come before you, or there's this wonderful story that I'm not going to remember right now. I'll put it in the comments of a man whose wife tragically dies, and he falls in love with her ghost, and that he lives with her ghost, and that his neighbors are like, I don't know about this guy. This guy's got a problem, and he has a whole life with her ghost and their dead child. And it's a beautiful story, and it's a heartbreaking story. I'll put it in the comments. I can't remember it right now. So that's that idea of supernatural. In this movie, you're exactly right. It's this idea of everything's pretty standard, normal living. Oh, and then here's a supernatural element, but it's not like
Right.
an oh my God, freak out American crawl
Right.
in, ghost hunters and paranormal, which I love.
Right.
Um, it's more of a that happened, or ooh, that's weird, or
Yeah.
that's it, or just oh, this is part of the story and we're not even going to really react to it. So that's why I
Yeah.
love comparing cultures across. And I'll say my Sam Remy line that I said yesterday. I saw an interview with Rachel McAdams, the beautiful Rachel McAdams, who did a movie with Sam Remy. And her comment was that he said to her, act slower. Or no, act faster,
Right.
because she's a Canadian actress and she was taking her time getting through her scene and being a professional actress. And Sam was like, Americans like fast, go, go, go. And so I was laughing at that because I'm like, yeah, because again, when you work with these beautiful international teams and you get all these different input and stuff, there someone has to steer the ship, right? There is a captain who's going to know what the audience want, because you make films for audiences, right? That's
Right.
to enjoy. So I just thought that was really funny. But this movie, it's so funny because I thought this would be a nothing little movie and we'd like go through it, but there's so much to unpack in it. that we haven't even gotten through what we haven't gotten through anything, and I've already got a lot to say about filmmaking and
Right,
everything else,
exactly.
because you brought up such a good point about how supernatural is viewed and perceived. I mean, there's this other amazing Chinese movie where the entire movie is about a woman's relationship with a guy that she's meant to be taking care of, and he's a ghost. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Okay.
okay. Well, that was unexpected. And we didn't even know he was a ghost until the end. 'Cause I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know he's a ghost, so that makes sense now. And it's just like, so this idea of supernatural and how it's viewed. So I like that fable idea for this film, because I think this film fits very squarely into a fable or into a story. It's almost like such a, yeah, it yes, it fits into this story. I was going to say good guys, bad guys, but no, the whole point of the story is we don't know who the good guys are
Well,
or the bad guys.
it's all very gray because at some point they kind of all are good guys and bad guys.
Right.
And it almost is like a story you could tell around a campfire. Maybe not
Yes.
quite, but it's very got that
Yes.
vibe of, hey, here's this interesting tale.
Yes.
And
A cautionary tale.
yeah, it completely swept me away.
Yeah.
I just really can't say enough about it. So I don't, did you want to just go ahead and start
Yeah, I
then
think
talking
we
about?
should, because
Okay.
so I think your idea of just sort of talking through it, because normally we would go through the plot, we'd go through scene by scene and talk about that, but I think with this one, the real way to get to the story is just tell the story. So what
Yeah,
happened?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. So basically the film starts out with a young woman, Olga, walking around this really dilapidated house holding a toy rabbit that has a drum. Its eyes are much more human than rabbit. Like it just looks off. And she's walking around the house. Nobody's saying anything. She's there alone. And then the rabbit starts to hit the drum slowly, one little beat at a time. She goes down the basement. It starts to beat it more and more frequently until it gets to a pretty frantic pace. And she sets it down. And we see that she has a nosebleed, and that she's also kind of unkempt. There's something wrong with her, and there's something wrong with this toy, and we don't know what it means or what it does. And she's looking at a piece of drywall in the basement, and she takes a little handsaw and cuts a little hole in it and peeks through. And we, the audience, don't get to see what it is. She shines a flashlight in there, and then we cut to the other two people in the story for 90% of the film, which
Yeah.
is Isaac, who is a drifter who has had amnesia for the past year or so, and Mo, who's his friend and landlord. And Mo is making Isaac a proposition. He says, hey, look, ever since my niece's mother disappeared and her father, oh, we should probably just say a quick trigger warning about self-harm
Uh-huh.
and
Sure.
uh
I was going to do that. Yeah.
sure.
So I'll give again, so definite high audiences. Definitely spoiler alert on this one. We're going to go through the whole story. We're going to give away all the surprises, but the bigger overarching issue is this movie does involve a suicide and some mental health issues. And I really there's other things you can watch. There's other things you can do. You can skip to our next one. You don't sit through this one if those concepts bother you or trigger you, because suicide is very sad. And obviously, if you need help or if you're feeling bad, go reach out, and there's tons of help out there. But it is a suicide based plot, so we do need to address that. So
Yeah, so I didn't want to
yeah, no, no,
but
it's
didn't want to
we
blunder into that. Yes.
no,
So
no, we want to be very, very respectful of our audiences.
of
So
course,
yeah,
absolutely. So with that being said, Mo is the uncle of Olga, who's the young woman we saw walking around with the toy. And Mo is telling Isaac, look, ever since Olga's mother disappeared and my brother, who was her father, committed suicide, she has been at that house. She won't leave the house. And I'm worried about her being there alone. I want to offer you some money to go out and basically make sure that she's okay. Just be in the house with her, be a companion. You don't really have to do anything. She She has some mental issues, but she can feed herself, she can clothe herself. You don't have to really be a nursemaid, so to speak, but you do have to just make sure that she's safe. And Mo estimates it'll take about a week, and he's offering Isaac, who we get the sense is a drifter. He doesn't really have a job. He's living at his friend's place slash renting out the apartment. These are all vaguish details. Again, a lot of unnecessary stuff is never answered. But he's offered enough money, I believe it was around $200 a day for that week. And so it's enough money for Isaac to really not want to say no to the job.
Yeah.
He really can't pass that up. That's a lot of money for anybody, but certainly for somebody who's having a hard time getting a job. But it
Yeah.
wasn't such a ridiculous cartoonish amount of money that somebody would say, "Hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why
Right.
are you offering me a fortune to do what should be a simple job?" So you're not
Yeah.
suspicious, but you also can't turn it down. Mo is basically making sure that Isaac is going to want to do this.
Well, and the approach was so interesting because I have friends who are mothers helpers and take care of people. And $100 a day is a tremendous amount of money here in the States, right? So, what Isaac is being offered is amazing. It's a great
Yeah.
amount of money. And I couldn't tell if it was really just his friend. I mean, I should have been tipped off because Mo was wearing like almost an evil bad guy suit. It was almost like a Pulp Fiction suit. It's the jacket, the straight tie, you know, and they did extreme, I don't know if you noticed, but they did extreme close-ups on Mo. When they filmed him, this actor has a beautiful mouth and a beautiful dental structure. I was kind of loving that. And they filmed him kind of up, from like a cinematic point of view. And I was like, oh,
Right.
why did I fall for it that he was offering his friend a really nice amount of cash for an easy job? Like I fell for it, but we see as the plot unfolds that there's not enough money in the world that should have gotten that man into that house.
There is not. And
Yeah,
and so of course the natural question that
yeah,
Isaac has is, well, she's your niece, why don't you look after
yeah,
her?
yeah.
And the I mean, almost immediately we get a bad feeling about Mo,
Right.
because he says, well, she's got mental problems, and it's just too much for me to handle. I
Yeah, he
just
doesn't like to
basically
be around her.
he doesn't want to deal with it. He doesn't
Yeah,
want to be around her, much less help her.
right.
And so you're like, "Ooh, that's your niece who effectively lost both of her parents, and one of which was your brother, and you don't want to
In horrible
physically be there
ways.
to help?" Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So, and the house, of course, is isolated.
yeah,
And then we go to the house. And on the way up, they make a point of them arriving at the house, and we, the audience, see that Isaac has fallen asleep and that Mo has to wake him up to get him there. And it's important because we, the audience, need to know that Isaac doesn't know where this place is. He
right.
he slept on the trip, so we don't know how long the drive is. We don't know how far away the place is. All we know is that really Mo is the only person who knows where this place is at this point.
Yeah, yeah,
And they get out of the car, and it's on a little island in a pretty large lake, and Isaac can't swim.
right, right.
And
So
and I'm sorry.
yeah, so they're building this idea of isolation, right? And they're building
Yeah.
this idea of, wait a second, there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? So
Right. There's going to
yeah,
be more to it. That's a
yeah,
lot of money,
yeah,
not an insane amount, but enough.
yeah,
And this is again where we know that Mo is now just somebody who can't be trusted, because Isaac said, "You didn't tell me it was on a lake. I can't swim."
right.
And Mo said, "I did tell you." He did not. We, the audience, saw that he did not. And
Yeah,
then Mo corrected himself by saying, "Oh, well, I said it was isolated.
yeah,
Same thing." It's
yeah,
not the same thing. If you can't swim and then having to get on a little rowboat to get to an island, there's a very big difference between a cottage on a large amount of acreage being isolated, or on a cliffside cabin, and in the middle of a lake if you can't swim. And I think we know that Mo knows that Isaac would have instantly said no. The whole point of Mo is he's very good at brokering deals.
yeah,
And so you know, it would have been a non-starter if he said it was on a lake. He withheld that on purpose because now Isaac's there and there's all that promise of money for a relatively easy job. And then Mo was counting on Isaac saying, well, all right, I don't like it, but we're here. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, and this is where I noticed that it immediately got uncomfortable for me because I learned we grew up together and we did not get a pool until later, like when we were about 8 or 9, I think. So I learned how to swim in the Atlantic Ocean. I'm a pretty strong swimmer. I'm a pretty good swimmer. I probably could swim from the lake to the island.
Yeah,
The
it wasn't that
stamps of
far.
the time, it wasn't that far. But if you don't know how to swim, any amount, right, is scary.
Yeah.
And then they get into, so I don't know if we said this yet, but Isaac is convinced finally to go to the island from some back and forth. But there's this scene, and this is when I got immediately nervous. There's this scene where they're going to the island, and most of these islands and Channel Islands, there's ferries, right? There's ferries that drop off your food, there's food deliveries. No, no, no. This was a rowboat. This is
Yeah.
a rowboat. This wasn't a speedboat. It wasn't a bigger fishing boat. It was not, it was a rowboat. And if you've ever sat in a rowboat, they sit so close to the water. So there's this scene of Mo and Isaac sitting in the rowboat, and I'm no life jackets, nothing. And I'm just like, I got that's when I first got nervous in
Right.
this film, and that feeling never left. You have that
Yes.
pins and needles throughout the entire film. And that scene is like, okay, because again, like I said, if the rowboat capsizes, I could swim to either side and be okay because I'm a good swimmer. I that it just made me really nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? So then
Yeah.
he convinces him to go begrudgingly to the island. And you had made the comment yesterday. Let's talk a little bit about what they walk into and what the film director did with regards to the island, right?
Yeah, that this was based on an actual person's house, a
Right.
friend that they had known, but the house was of course way too nice because
Yeah.
people were actually living in it. And so they build sets and they did a wonderful job of, you know, these were we find out as the story progresses that there were three really deeply disturbed people, deeply troubled, significant mental issues. And with the one person who we know the least about being removed from it, the house just got worse and worse. So you're looking at a house that has holes punched in walls.
Yeah.
They don't mention it, they don't reference it. It's just there. And the floor is dirty. The walls look like they might have mold in them in some parts. These were all sets that were built, but the outside house was based with, you know, was actually this very nice house that they then wanted to create this awful atmosphere with kind of dust on everything. Like it looked like it was a little nicer than a classic haunted house, but it was clearly a place where bad things have happened,
I
you
mean,
know.
and it was interesting because the director, by the colors and everything, gave an impression of the house just like, you know, if you walked in there, it's going to smell stale. It kept like
Yes.
reading stale, like there was no
Yep.
life in the house. And it was so wonderfully put together and beautifully put in, you know, put together. So Isaac is convinced to go over. They get into the house, and yeah, there's no mention of anything. And this is where Isaac's acting was so beautiful because he just is kind of looking around and observing. He's not like, "Holy
Mhm.
Toledo, I'm getting out of here. This house is a mess. It should be condemned." He's just looking at
Yep.
stuff, and it's all very subtle, and the directing is very subtle. So we get into the house, and Isaac's and Mo's just playing it off like, "Yep, here's the house," and you know, so,
Right, it's
Rich,
not
what are the
referenced. Yeah.
rules? What do we
So
learn now? Because it's
so
not anything that you would think.
it's not certainly, and it is the idea is, oh yeah, by the way, because Olga gets nervous, as you would imagine, especially now that we're having a man in the house for about a week, she wants to have at least the one part of the house where she can feel safe, which is her bedroom, which is down a little bit of a longer hall. So, to make sure that she can be safe, you need to wear this medieval Houdini
Yeah.
style straight jacket like
Yeah.
vest that is bolted, padlocked, and chained to an iron eye in the basement,
Yeah.
so that way you can go to almost any room in the entire house, but you can't get to hers. You can't, the chain just won't reach quite that far.
Right. And
And
this is right. This is when the movie, first of all, just from a viewer's point of view, I was shocked. I was shocked at the visual. I was
yeah,
shocked at the concept. I didn't see it coming. I've
yeah,
watched a lot of movies with a lot of like torture scenes and medieval stuff and all, all this crazy stuff. I've never ever seen something so visually stunning in this setting. And this is where I think we get this concept of who's trapped, who's
right,
tethered, who's because
right.
that is the fable element of this, right? This idea
Yeah,
of being stuck and being tethered and
absolutely.
being trapped. So I just
Yeah.
had to mention that because I was not expecting to see a mid, and you're exactly right. It's a Houdini harness. It is something, it looks like a straitjacket, which again kind of plays into this idea of you're building the mental health issues, but more importantly, you're building this tethering issue of
Right.
loss of freedom. So,
Yeah, and of course it's very funny because he'd said it as though, oh, one more thing, and
yeah,
explained it, and then the screen cuts to black, and you get the
yeah,
title screen that says caveat,
yeah,
because that was the big caveat to this job. By the way, you're going to have to be
you're,
tethered to the basement while you do this
yeah,
job because she's scared and wants to be able to retreat to her room.
right.
And that's a heck of a caveat. But then Mo again really tries to verbally dominate Isaac. Isaac is, now he's already gone to the place, he's already gotten in the rowboat. Isaac says, I feel funny about leaving her alone, but I don't know that I want to do this. And then Mo is saying, well, I don't like having my time wasted. Like Isaac should have predicted that he would need to wear a harness like this. He said, hey, you
Yeah,
didn't tell me about any of this.
yeah.
But
It's not
again,
filing a report. You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
not like keeping track of your expenses. It's, oh no, I'm going to harness you to the house and you're going to lose your freedom.
yes,
So, yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about at this point is, and I found this creepy from a women's perspective. They hit you with a lot in this first scene.
yes,
From a woman's perspective, I found this very, very scary. And that's what I meant about being uneasy throughout the entire film. Mo and Isaac have a conversation, and I forget how it comes up, but Mo is commenting. I think Isaac asks, "Is there any life on the island?" Which is a funny question because it looks small to me. I don't know how things work.
right, right,
Like I think deer can swim. I don't know. Um, and Mo says, "Yeah, there's foxes on the island." And then he gets really creepy. And
yeah,
right, I hate this scene.
yeah,
I go to
yeah,
punch Mo in the face with this scene.
yeah,
And he says, and have you ever heard a fox cry? Foxes crying sounds like teenage girls screaming. And I was like, what the actual heck with this?
yeah,
And then Mo kind of goes back to Isaac and says, have you ever heard a teenage girl scream? Or have you ever heard of foxing? But basically insinuating that maybe Isaac is not an innocent angel baby. Maybe he was maybe a sexual offender, or maybe had a background of hurting teenage girls, or just maybe, and we don't know. We
no,
don't know because we're walking into the story with not knowing anyone. So Mo, all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, well, wait a second. Maybe Mo's actually a super creep and putting a sex offender in. Like, what kind of movie is this going to be? Because I didn't read anything about it and I was ready to bail on the film. And it was just such an uncomfortable scene
yeah,
from my perspective as a woman, where I was like, yikes, I don't want to, I don't care if you're tethered. If you're out there hurting teenage girls, you do not have to babysit me. That's fine.
yeah.
So that was a weird scene.
It was, and it was again intentionally creepy because there was
Yeah,
so many different ways to just say, "Oh, look, don't be alarmed. Foxes sound like people screaming."
right.
He had to specify, like, what does a teenage girl scream differently than an adult woman? Like, why specify a teenage girl
It was so
screaming,
creepy.
and then ask, "Have you ever heard that?" It's like,
Yeah.
no.
Why would I hear
Why
that?
why
And
would
I
I
would
have
call the
heard that?
police or help?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it was very much a way, in addition to all the visual, this was a way to verbally make the audience uncomfortable. And it never really went anywhere from there, but it just simply let us be uncomfortable for a
Right.
moment.
Right.
Just
And
like that was a
worried.
weird thing to say. And yes,
And
worried, a
worried
sense
for
of
Olga
yeah,
because we're viewing this as Olga at this point still being very vulnerable.
absolutely. In
Yeah.
fact, what we find out, and one of the reasons that she likes to be able to retreat, is that part of Olga's mental issues is that she will sometimes sporadically become catatonic,
Yeah.
and she'll just put her hands over her face and remain motionless, and she can't or won't speak, won't respond, is basically temporarily paralyzed,
Yeah.
and obviously as vulnerable as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
If you can't move or even sense if anything is going on, that's as vulnerable as a human being could be.
Yeah.
So we have this very vulnerable person. All we've seen of her so far is her walking around the house with a nosebleed and a toy. Like we don't know.
Very childlike. Like they set
Yeah,
her up to look very childlike to be walking around with a toy. It was almost like a child with their teddy bear who had a bad
right.
dream. That was kind
Yes.
of like, like wandering around the house. It was a very it's a very smart choice, the choices that were made in this movie. Really
Yeah.
smart choices.
Yes.
So then what happens?
Well, so really at this point, then obviously Isaac, there'd be no movie if he didn't. And again, Isaac being his landlord, you get this real power imbalance. They came out all that way. Long story short, Isaac agrees to do the job and puts on this shackling
Yeah,
device, the shackling vest.
the
Mo
vest.
leaves and, of course, takes the rowboat with him because how else is Mo going to get back? So now, not only is Isaac tethered to the island figuratively, he's tethered literally to the basement of the house. There's no leaving this island. It's like a classic Agatha Christie setup. You have people now on an island, and there's no one coming for them except perhaps like a week later. They're set there. And so we meet Olga, who is normal enough, maybe a little, expressing signs of depression, but her mother went missing. And we later find out when she peeked through that hole in the basement that she saw her mother's corpse. I
Yeah.
mean,
Her mom's dead.
her
Her
mother
mom's
is
dead.
dead, and obviously not naturally because she was placed and hidden with drywall. So
Yeah.
she knows that her mother is dead. She knows that her father did commit suicide. And so I think she's looking for answers, and she's not quite sure. We're not quite sure what she's hoping to get out of any of this except for further answers.
Right.
And
And the one thing I wanted to say about this movie is it's interesting the way the plot unfolds. We struggle with motive. We don't learn motives until it comes out in very interesting ways. And
yeah,
then the other thing I wanted to talk about is we talked about yesterday, there's this idea of Death Trap, the play Death Trap, where you
yes,
had different people moving, and that was a play and then later a movie. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. But it's this idea of this one very tight room where all the action happens,
yeah,
and the cat and mouse game that you and I were talking
yes,
about yesterday with this idea of who can move where, who needs what. It's almost like find the key, get the queen, slay the dragon, get the princess.
yes.
So there's this idea when you're watching this movie, pay attention to space and what the space looks like and where stuff is in this space, because that's what it really read like a play to me, this movie,
Yeah, I could
you
see it
know.
definitely reading as a play for sure. And you absolutely had one moment. Olga has the upper hand.
Yeah.
He's shackled to the basement
Hmm.
and he can get around, but she's free to roam. She can't roam off the island, but
Right.
she can certainly roam around.
Right.
Then there are times when he has the upper hand. And so
Right.
it is this wonderful cat and mouse game between the two of them because they don't necessarily wish each other harm at this point because neither of them know very much about the other, or that
Well,
we know as an audience,
that
as
we
far
know
as
as an
we know.
audience. Exactly. We don't know motives yet.
Right, exactly. So, but it's not like they're immediately starting the movie trying to hurt each other. Otherwise, it would have made no sense. They
Right,
wouldn't have gotten, together in the first place. So,
right.
they're kind of going about their business as best as they can. There's not a lot of communication between the two of them. They talk a little bit, kind of get to know each other slightly, but it's not like it's one of those movies where, oh, is this going to be like a Stockholm syndrome or something?
Yeah,
No, they're just kind of doing their thing. She's trying to find answers. He's just trying to make it
survive.
through this to get a
Yeah.
nice payday at the end and survive. Exactly.
So let's back up for a second though,
Yep.
because when Mo leaves the island, Olga's still catatonic. So
Yes.
she sits in her room safe. She sits in her room for a while. Isaac has to use the men's room. So
Yeah.
he looks to go to the one bathroom and he's tethered. And this is where we learn how tethered he is. He can't get to the toilet, right?
Right.
So he's
Right.
like, okay, let me go. I'll go pee outside. We've all done it, right? So he goes to the back of the house, and in the back of the house, the cottage has this beautiful view of a backyard. And when he opens the door, there's a dog
Yes.
tethered to the ground. And
Yes.
again, this is where it's building and building and building about who's trapped and how are you trapped and the whole thing. And Isaac does this funny thing where he grabs, I call it spam, but it's not, it's canned meat. He
Right.
grabs some canned meat. And that was the thing too. I kept thinking this. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be stuck on an island, I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat food and look at birds, right? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he opens the mini fridge and there's nothing in the fridge. There's no food in this house. So I'm like, I don't even know how you're going to survive a week out here. He right?
Yeah.
He grabs
Yeah.
the tin of food and he opens it and he shares it with the dog, which I found
Yes.
so interesting. So he's throwing, so now I'm like, oh, Isaac's a good guy. He likes dogs. He's kind to dogs, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, Isaac's the hero. Okay, good. Now I'm comfortable. Now I know. And then we see that they're divided by probably about, I don't know, 12 feet, but the dog's on a tether and Isaac's on a tether. And it's just a
Oh,
funny scene, but it definitely builds up this idea. And then right now we're into Olga all of a sudden comes back to life and they're interacting and Olga's walking around with a crossbow.
yep. They're
We don't know why.
hunters.
Yeah.
They're hunters.
Yeah.
What there is to hunt on this island, I get
Fox.
I get the impression that maybe in their mind when they were writing the script, they had been picturing a much larger island on a much larger lake,
Yeah.
and the location they had to work with was a small island because I really can't picture needing a crossbow to hunt anything on an island that small, unless you were gonna shoot squirrels or foxes or things like that, which I guess you
Right.
certainly
Small
could.
game. Yeah.
But yeah, small
Yeah.
game with a crossbow. I could kind of see that. But it was a wonderfully chosen weapon because it is something like a gun would almost feel too dangerous.
Yeah.
And as we see, it's like Chekhov's crossbow. Obviously, that's going to be important later on.
Yeah.
And I believe you had mentioned the other day that it was a very visually interesting weapon.
It is. It's a visually stunning weapon, and it's a weapon that you don't really particularly need a lot of strength to use, but you do need to, it's not, you're not putting a magazine in and shooting. It's a
Right.
very, and that kind of came into, in my mind again, this sort of like medieval vibe, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's a crossbow, you have to pull the string back, you have to set the thing, and you run out of quills, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
you
If
can
you
run out
can't.
of quills.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if you don't have a quill, a crossbow is not really good for anything, right? So
No.
and we
No.
learn that as the movie goes on. So they're sort of going back and forth, and then Isaac, I don't know, he's just such a quiet character, but they just now Olga and Isaac start talking, and then I forget what the catalyst is that
Well, he's really trying to kind of get out of all of this,
yeah,
Isaac, and I think that he finds the mother in the
that's
basement
right.
too.
That's right. I forgot that. I okay,
So because Isaac can go down because he went down to the basement because that's where he was chained, trying to break the chain or pry
yeah,
the chain, and it just even with the fireplace poker, he couldn't do anything with it. It just wasn't going to yield. And while he was down there, he saw the hole cut in the drywood and the hand saw stuck into the dry wall as well, rather. And so he looks inside and he peeks in with the flashlight. And this time we, the audience, get to see it. So this is the first time in the whole movie that we, the audience, have confirmed that the mother has
Mom's dead.
been most likely murdered, but at the very least, she's dead and sealed off in this little alcove in the basement.
Well, I
And
think it's pretty obvious that she was murdered in the sense that she had two quills sticking out of her chest.
she did.
So
She had a
someone hurt
crossbow.
her
Yeah.
is if in if they didn't kill her, they definitely hurt her, right?
I mean,
So
it certainly wasn't natural causes, that's
right.
for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and even if it was natural causes, which it obviously wasn't, she was still sealed off instead of
Yeah.
giving a burial. And so this whole time you see newspaper clippings, you see all these things about how this woman disappeared. And we know where she is, and now Isaac does too. And that's when he runs up to basically to tell Olga, because he doesn't know that she knows, but of course we know that she already
Yeah.
knows.
She
And so it's very clever. Again, they really work with the limitations of his tether. He can't walk through the front door of Olga's room, but there are intercoms throughout the entire house,
right.
and there are vents throughout the entire house.
Right.
And so he can't reach her door, but he can reach the room next to hers to put his hand through the vent, and her telephone and desk drawer and bureau is there. And the key to his vest is on that desk drawer, and so is a phone. So this is why it's important that we know that he doesn't know where he is, because
Yeah.
he, instead of calling the police, he can't, because he doesn't know where they're located. So he instead calls Mo and says, "Hey, I found your ex-sister-in-law,
Yeah.
here in the basement.
Yeah.
Get me out of here."
And this is the interesting thing too. So we should have talked about this before. There's two keys to the harness.
Yeah.
And we learn later where the second key is. But the first key, Mo rightly walks the key into Olga's bedroom and puts it on her dresser. And it's funny because we both noticed that on the dresser, it's a very sparse dresser. It has some medical pills, right? Some medication,
Right. Some
a
pills. Yeah.
lamp, the phone, and then it has the see no evil, hear no
Yeah.
evil, speak no evil monkeys, which I also
Yeah.
really love. That
Yeah.
visual anywhere. I love. I love it.
It's very
So
striking.
it's very
Yeah.
striking. So it was so funny though, because I watch horror movies so I can escape, right? So I can figure out how to escape, where like what I would have done. So instead of making this phone call, I would have taken the phone and scooted the key over to get the key to get me out, and then I'm free, right? And then I could
Then
do
you can do
whatever.
whatever you need. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm swimming because I'm a good
Yeah.
swimmer. But he doesn't do that. He picks up the phone, talks to Mo. Mo's like, all right, I'll take care of it. But Mo asks a couple of questions like, oh, well, did you tell so and so? And did you call the police? And he's like, no. And Mo's like, all right, I'll be right there. No, we know.
Right.
At this point, we know Mo is not, he didn't freak out. He didn't say, oh my God, I'm on my way. He didn't grab his car keys and say, call the police. He didn't tell him where he was.
He didn't tell him where he was, and he didn't say, "I'll call the cops and I'll come out there with the police."
Right.
He did not react in a way that you would expect someone to react to hear
Your
that his
sister.
sister-in-law, who was missing for a year, is actually sealed up in the house where your niece has been living.
Yeah.
He did not respond normally in
Yeah.
any way, and yet also kind of normal enough that it wasn't that striking. It was like,
Right.
okay, here's a guy who likes to take care of things. Maybe he doesn't believe Isaac. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just wants to find out what's going on. And he's just saying, all right, look, I'll come on over. Let's sort this out type of
Right.
thing. So
And
it, again, wasn't insane reaction, but it was not a normal reaction.
no, but you're exactly right because Mo's whole character gives the impression of I'll handle things. I'm just going to
Yes.
handle it.
Yep.
And now we learn a lot. We learn a lot with the next interaction between Olga and Isaac. And this is where things take a drastic turn, right?
Yes, because I believe I'm not sure why there's a second call, but there is a second call.
Right, but Olga shares some information. So Olga and Isaac are talking, and basically we all learn now the mother's dead and the father's deceased, and Olga thinks Isaac killed her dad,
Yes.
right?
Okay. So that's right, because they kind of hash it out about the mother being in the basement, and
Right.
that's when Olga said that Isaac was here a year ago,
Right.
basically when all this happened. And Isaac is like, I wasn't here. I don't know
I've
what you're
never been here
talking about. I've
before.
never
Yeah.
been here. But Olga had Isaac's old jacket that he
Right.
had a year ago.
Right.
And so we, the audience, are like, oh, this guy lost his memory. He has amnesia.
Right.
He can remember new memories, but he lost a year essentially of his life due
Right.
to an accident that I think it was hinted at as a car accident. But it basically, Olga had said, yeah, Mo said you were a different guy before the accident.
Right.
And so now we're wondering, well, how different a guy was he?
What kind of a
Would he
guy
have
were you?
been somebody to have murdered,
Right.
her father?
Right.
So, he does then try to sneak in second time to stick his hand through the vent to try and get the key, but she's waiting for him and sees his hand and just whacks it and
Yeah.
breaks
She breaks
breaks
his
a finger. She
fingers. Yeah.
grabs a finger and pulls it back, rather.
And
Yes,
we
she
learned
breaks
she's
a finger.
very, yeah, she's very capable of protecting herself, which that's
Right.
a good thing. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
made the comment yesterday too that, when she's not catatonic, she's not like a little delicate flower princess.
Right.
She's got a very good presence. She's got a very good speaking voice. They
Yeah.
directed her to be very strong. She knows how to use a crossbow. She's not afraid.
Right.
And then you're right. Now we go to the second conversation where he's like, I would not have killed anyone. And she's like, how do you know you wouldn't have killed anyone? He's like, because I know. And she's like, but you don't remember. So Isaac in his heart is thinking, I would not have killed anyone. And she's like, how
Right.
do you know? How do you
Yeah.
know you wouldn't? So then they get on the phone, they call Mo, and they have a conversation. And Isaac's pleading basically to Mo to say, hey, I didn't kill this guy. And then there's some back and forth, and Mo's like, all right, whatever. And then Olga picks up the phone and they have a separate conversation.
Yes, they have a separate conversation. And by the way, Mo was still at the house to get the
Yeah,
phone call. So he had never actually left when he said
right,
he was going to leave,
right,
unless it was a cell phone he was talking to, which I guess is possible. But the fact is, Mo was not in a hurry to get out to where they were.
right,
And yes, that's what happens. Mo says, hey, Olga, pick up the phone. I need to tell you something.
yeah,
And so now Olga, we see only her side of the conversation, and she says very, very little, hangs up, and she said basically, Mo confirmed that you were here a year ago to lock the basement door with my father in it. And
right.
her father is very, very claustrophobic, and the thought of being locked in a basement while also because he was wearing that device. So that's something
Yeah,
that we didn't talk about.
let's let's
let's
talk
just
about
back up a hair,
yeah,
yeah, because when the device is first introduced, the reasonable question that Isaac has is, what is this? Why did you
yeah,
have this? And Mo told us, the audience, but we now know is almost certainly a lie,
right.
is that Olga's mother would have to wear this when she slept because she slept walked and they were worried about her walking into the lake or something like that. Something
Yeah,
really kind of absurd, but also still, all right, that's a fig leaf of a thing I can cling to as to why this device exists in the first place.
right.
But then we find out that Olga's mother was a little psychotic herself, but
She's
in
cruel. She's very
yeah,
cruel. Yeah,
very, very, very cruel. And she would lock her husband into that device, kind of taunting him, going into areas of the house he couldn't reach. She would flaunt the key in front of him. At one point, she ate the
yeah.
key,
She swallowed the key. Yeah,
and it was all just very, very abusive. But that was the idea. And that we know that, again, the keys play so prominently in all of this, because obviously she retrieved the key at some point and then wore it around her neck, which showed
yeah,
up in a photo in the newspapers.
right,
But basically that that phone call between Olga and Mo just really confirmed that the father was in the device in the basement, and that Isaac was hired to lock the basement door,
right,
and with the crossbow downstairs in the basement, so that her father would become panicked and actually kill himself because he's that claustrophobic, and the idea of being both tethered and locked in a basement with no way out, with the dead body of his wife that he helped murder, that was certainly going to lead to suicide.
Right.
And
So
that was what
just
they were counting on. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, just to set it up, the wife is awful and
Right.
she wears a key around her neck. There's a second key, which is the one we saw in the bedroom. And
Right.
then what we learn that Isaac and Mo had a relationship a year before. And
Yep.
Isaac is again manipulated by Mo, where Mo goes to Isaac and says, do me a favor. I want you to go to the island. I want you to lock my brother-in-law, or no, my brother in the
My brother. Yeah.
basement because we learn he's a claustrophobic, the whole big thing, and that is the proposal that's made, and we see that Isaac does that. He goes,
He agrees. He
he
agrees
agrees.
to it. He
So
goes
he
to the
has been
place.
at the island before. He
Yes.
agrees to go there, but again, and these are all in flashbacks. When Isaac goes to the island, he makes the decision of, I actually can't do this. I can't
Yes.
kill this guy. So he writes a note saying, your brother wants to kill you. What is it? What does it say again?
It was
Mo.
basically to
Yeah,
that idea. Basically, your brother wants you dead.
right.
So yeah.
So Isaac goes there and Isaac does test. I mean, it's so interesting. Isaac does test the door to the basement and he realizes the door to the basement is locked, right? So
Yeah,
you
it's
explained this better
already
than I did. Yeah,
locked. Yeah.
it's
So
already locked.
it's already locked. So basically Isaac gets all the way there, has second thoughts at the last moment, and writes that note. He checks the basement door because if it is locked, he wants to unlock it. If it's not locked, he's going to leave it alone. It is locked. He unlocks the door, goes down to the basement, and he sees Olga's father alive and panicked with a crossbow bolt in his body. And,
Yeah,
he basically tried to kill himself with that crossbow bolt. He's dying, but he isn't dead. He's alive, but grievously wounded, and then dies. But we
yeah,
know that Isaac was innocent because that door was locked before he got there.
right.
And so, although Isaac, again, this is where everybody's gray, he agreed to it. He knew that but it was also not going down there to shoot the guy. It was all you're doing is locking a door. It's like,
Yeah,
hey,
and that's why
maybe he
Mo's so
wouldn't have killed
manipulative.
himself. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
It's like, hey, you're just locking a door. If my brother kills himself, he kills himself.
that's
What's
on
that?
him.
That's
Yeah,
on him. It's
yeah,
just really awful and also very masterful. And the whole reason for all of it is that Mo and his brother, who's Olga's father, conspired to kill Olga's mother. And that's something that we still don't really know why. We don't know if it was over inheritance. We don't know if it was just because she was so awful and the brother wanted to get rid of her. But then Mo also wanted to clear up any loose ends.
right.
So
And I think I made the comment again, this is where you really have to pay attention to who is tethered to watch
right,
because I mean, we have that idea of people are physically tethered, but people are also emotionally tethered, where Mo is tethered to his background of all bad deeds. So
yes,
Mo's a bad guy. Mo did bad stuff. He needs to get away from it, and he keeps getting dragged in where it's like, okay, well, I conspired with my brother to kill my sister-in-law. Ooh, now people might find that out about me. So now I have to get rid of my brother.
right.
Okay. Now people might find out that I did that. So now I have to take other action. And that's the interesting part about Mo. Mo's tethered to his own past and
Yeah.
he's trying to escape his own past. And then we see that, poor Olga's tethered to this house. I don't know why she's still here. It's awful because she
Yeah,
now knows her father and her mother are dead. And she's not just like, hey, can I get a ride and get out of here?
right,
No, because she learns at the beginning of the movie that her mother's dead and she's
right.
still in the space. And now Isaac's there and Isaac's really having to struggle because he's getting some memory back and he's really having to struggle with what he actually did. But then he knows in his heart now, he's like, no, I didn't kill this guy.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, someone else locked him in. So
Right. So
so now, and Isaac's disassociating himself with this entire bad deed because now we go to another flashback where Mo and Isaac have a conversation in the apartment in town about what actually happened, right? So that's that conversation.
yes. Yeah. And so they have that conversation, and Mo, because at that point I believe that the brother was already found dead.
The brother's
And
dead.
right, and so Mo is saying, "Oh, how did things go?" Just trying to sort it all out. And you know Isaac doesn't want to take the money because he didn't actually do it
And
and he
it's a
felt
big
funny
stack of
about it.
money. It's a
And
big stack of
that
money.
is a ridiculous amount of money,
Yeah,
because basically he paid Isaac to kill his brother.
right.
So you would hope it would be a lot of money if you're going to do something that
Yeah,
horrible. And Isaac did not want the money. And then Mo said, "Well, I'll give you a day to think about it, but let me show you this." And he pulls out the note that Isaac had written warning his brother that Mo was trying to kill him. And so now Mo has another loose end to tie up, because
right.
not only did Isaac not do what he was supposed to do, he tried to warn the brother.
Yeah.
And now that really puts Mo in danger. So Isaac becomes yet another loose end that he had to tie up, or get rid of.
Yeah.
Um and so then we see that Isaac is on the balcony.
Yeah, Isaac's really a fragile person at this point because he's
Yeah,
made a bad decision by making the choice to go kill the brother. It didn't go
he
that way
didn't
at
do it,
all.
but still,
Right.
yeah,
Isaac's drinking a lot. He's on the balcony of the apartment building. He's drinking and drinking, and he's very upset. And then we see again, Mo is just a creep. He's just a really
yeah.
bad guy. We see this his little dirty socks, and I can't get over this scene. Essentially what happens is the accident wasn't a car accident. Mo tried to
Right.
kill Isaac. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's Mo has his little creepy feet going and his little sock has a hole in it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate this guy. It's so, and I have, socks with holes in it, but it's like this little creepy sock. So he like creeps in. Maybe I'll clean out my sock drawer after this movie. But he
Yeah.
creeps in and he essentially pushes Isaac over the balcony and tries to kill him, but Isaac survives, but he loses his memory. So
Right.
we're slowly learning that backstory, and we're slowly learning that, that Mo is just this awful person, and that is why we're all here a year later, where
Right.
Mo's finally come up with a plan to get rid of Isaac. And
Yes.
and now it's just a problem, right? So now Mo
Right.
finally makes his way to the island.
Well, yes, he does, but while he's doing that, things have escalated between Olga and
Oh,
Isaac.
right. Yeah. She tries
So
to kill him.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, he goes back to the dead body of the mother. He takes the key out from around her neck so that he gets out of that vest finally.
Yeah.
And Olga goes into another catatonic state.
Right.
And so he puts the vest on her,
Right.
but apparently didn't remember that crossbows aren't tethered. So he
Right.
left the crossbow and,
Right.
she could still access that. So now it's switched. Now he can hide in her room and
Right.
she can't get to her room because she's now tethered, and he obviously took the key with him. But she just opened the door because she can't go through the door, but she can reach it. So she opens the door and just starts shooting at him
Yeah.
with the crossbow.
Yeah.
And she lands a bolt or two. And so that's really when a lot of the flashbacks come back. He basically got crossbowed into remembering the
Yeah.
past. I guess the trauma helped
And
him to remember.
right.
uh,
And what we should have talked about too is, and we kind of glossed over it, this idea of supernatural comes in at this point.
yes.
Because the first night that Isaac's in the house, there's this weird painting. He has some bad dreams about a painting, and it's like, oh, this house is creepy. And then in one of the scenes, when it's very, very quiet, in one of the scenes, he gets his what is it called? The chain
The
yanked.
chain,
And
right? Yes.
we don't know if it's Olga at this point. We don't really know much about Olga. We don't know who's yanking this chain, but just like little creepy things. So
Right.
now fast
And I'm
forward to Isaac being stuck in the room because even though
right.
he's free to move around, he's not safe except for in this room. So he's tethered to
Right.
the room.
So now, yes,
And she has a crossbow.
he technically is free, but now he's even more trapped because
Yeah,
now he's trapped in one small room of the house.
right,
And Olga can roam freely in the house, but she can't go into that one room.
right.
And there was some great moments. Again, it was just really great cat and mouse the whole movie.
Yeah,
At one point, he locks her in her bedroom so he can't get in, but she can't get out.
Right.
Now, at this part of the movie, he's in her room and he knows that he can't make a break for it because she'll just shoot him. She is a good shot. She has hit him with the crossbow, and she can't go further into the room, but now he can't get out. But he does start crawling through vents in the house. I should say that that scene where his chain was pulled, he had the toy sitting on the shelf and it started to slowly drum. So the implication is what we're now going to find out is that
Right.
as he's crawling through the vents, for a very briefest of second, Olga's mom just pops her head up, takes a look, and pops back down again. And you're
Yeah.
like, wait, did
It's a
I even
great jump
see that?
scare.
What was that?
Yeah.
Because again, like all good jump scares, they didn't do a crash zoom on it and play loud music. It's just like he's slowly trying to crawl his way through the vent, and then you just see boink boink, and it's like, wait, did that just happen? Is
Yeah.
that what I think it was?
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and like, oh, okay, so I guess now she's undead but can move, I guess is
Right.
what now is happening. That's where the supernatural part comes in. And I know it sounds silly to just say it like this, but as you're watching the movie, it's not incredibly shocking. It's like, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
Yeah.
It really, yeah.
We have a ghost mom who now becomes a very real character in the story
Yeah.
because she's we see she can move. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yikes. And this was a thing too, and I couldn't figure it out. At some point, Olga's in her bedroom, and we see this. I had this actually when I lived in Manhattan. And it's such a strange situation. You have a door that's full door, and then the top of the door, close to the ceiling, it's just glass.
A transom. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And like I remember thinking, how is this safe in Manhattan? Because somebody could easily break that and get into my apartment, which did happen. And I was laughing because in the movie, I did they dream Olga going through it? Or like at one point that glass was broken or something happened, and I couldn't remember
It
why that
was
happened.
it was broken because I think that the implication was that Olga tried to break it to get out of her room because
Okay.
the door was locked, so she was trying to break.
Okay. So that happens then.
That's my
Yeah. Yeah.
assumption. That's my
Right.
assumption.
Okay.
But yeah,
All right. So
yes,
then I just was curious about that. But okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
now we have Isaac crawling through crawl spaces, and he makes his way down to, I'm going to call it like a little tomb, but it's the walled in section of the basement
Yes,
where the mother's body is, and Isaac finds himself in there. And now again, Isaac is stuck. So even though he's not
right.
tethered, he is stuck.
He is
Olga
stuck.
can go up and down
Yes, she can reach
and
him.
get there. She can
If she
reach
knows
him.
if she knows he's in the basement, she can
Yeah,
reach him now. Yeah,
exactly. And then he at some point pulls the mini saw out of the front of the drywall
yes,
through a hole. There's a hole in the drywall, and he pulls the saw and brings it into him. So now he's
right.
in the tomb with the little saw, and I think that's when Mo shows up, right?
That's about when Mo shows up. It's right about that time because Isaac is trying to saw through. He figures, well, if he can get through here, maybe he can avoid her and escape the house. Um, at one point, he actually did escape the house when he first untethered, and but then he realized there's no boat and he
Yeah,
can't swim, so he's stuck and actually went back into the house. And so he was just trying to do whatever he could to physically escape and just kind of kill time for Mo because Mo
right.
has the boat. And so Mo is coming back, and Isaac is sawing through the drywall, and he takes a look over at Olga's mother, and he goes back to sawing, and
Yeah, and this,
it's all very dark. He has a small little flashlight, and
yeah,
it's very, very creepy and unsettling.
this scene's
Uh,
fantastic.
it's just wonderful because he keeps on sawing, and then something makes him just kind of stop for a moment and look back at the body, and her position changed slightly. It wasn't a
Yeah.
lot, and we didn't see it happen in real time. It's just one moment she's looking this way, and one moment she's looking slightly more at him. And then he continues to saw. It's like, what are you going to do at that point? What are you going to check for a pulse? I mean, she's so clearly dead,
Yeah.
and you're like, I just got to keep sawing. And then he gets creeped out further, so he puts a hat over her face. He has a hat and he just puts it on over her face so that she can't look at him anymore. Basically, it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, you creep me out. Let me just keep sewing. He keeps on sewing. He stops, takes another look over, and the hat has been moved on her face so that there's a hole in the hat where one of her eyes is now able to stare directly at him again. And at
Yeah.
that point, I don't know how he didn't have a heart attack and die on the spot, but basically,
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously she has nothing against him because she could have done anything she wanted to him. But the fact
Well,
is that she is this now kind of undead entity that is kind of just messing with him a little bit.
Well, and she's mad, and we know she's mad,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
her daughter even says, "My mother
yeah,
was mad," right?
yeah,
So the mother obviously has a lot going on anyway, and Ghost Mom has a
yeah.
lot going on too. But I love this because if we compare it to Oddity, right? So
Yes,
Oddity if you haven't seen that movie, watch the movie, watch our
it's a great
podcast.
movie.
But it
Yeah,
involves another inanimate object that tends to move around a lot. So it's the
absolutely.
director is I am in love with the director's concepts of objects having souls and moving. I'm in love with the concept of what is the backstory, what is the relationship, what do we know about the character, how does that change? And it's such I absolutely loved it. It's such smart filmmaking.
Yeah,
Isaac just sells this scene. I mean, he is just in this, he's a big actor, he's a big guy, and he's in this little tiny area and he's sawing away and trying
yeah.
to like escape.
Trying to
And
keep
then
his sanity at this point because he can't trust his own mind. So
right.
for all we know, maybe this isn't really happening, and he's looking at her and she really isn't moving. Who knows?
Look,
Because
it's
he doesn't know for sure. He's all he knows is I've got to get out of here. I don't know what her deal is, but I got to get out of here.
it's
And that
not a typical situation to be in a room with a dead body. It's shocking.
right,
It's a shocking
right.
thing. It's an upsetting thing. So, and so close. And right. So this is where we are now. And then at one point, and I forget when, but at one point, Olga does go to the basement and pulls a quill out of her mother to get more ammunition. And I love that
Yeah.
scene. I'm like, oh my God, that's such an awful scene. So I forget when that happens, but that was a good scene too. And
It
so
was.
now Mo shows up, and now
Yes.
there's the negotiation now, right? So now we have Mo, we have Isaac. Mo's
We have
still trying to
Olga.
gain
Right.
control.
Yeah.
Olga's somewhere. We don't know. And there's a conversation between Mo and Isaac, and we just realize that Mo is just bad to the core, right?
Yeah, well, but before that conversation, he argues with Olga. He
Oh,
basically
I
tries
forgot
to
about that.
browbeat. Yeah, he browbeats Olga. He
Yeah.
again is trying to verbally control and manipulate the situation because in his mind he had a simple plan. We still don't know what that plan is, but I have to assume the plan was let Olga know or think that Isaac killed her mother, rather her father, and therefore Olga would kill Isaac. I mean, I'm assuming that's the plan to
Yeah.
tie up that one last loose end.
Yeah, he
Uh,
comes in and Mo says, "You've ruined everything. Basically, you're an idiot and you've ruined everything, and you can't even do one simple thing right." And then
right.
I'm like, "Well, wait, were they conspiring? Like, is Olga not as innocent as we think? Like, what was going on?" And he was very, very mean to her. And I was like,
Yeah.
"You're being
Well,
mean."
I think that's his way of controlling people
Yeah,
is he makes it so that people can't talk back to him.
right.
So he has all these relationships that are one-sided that,
Yeah,
Isaac isn't going to say no matter what because the guy's his landlord, even though
yeah,
he's technically his quote friend.
yeah,
uh Olga, he didn't like her in the first place. He knows that he killed or helped kill her mother. He
right,
knows that he conspired to help kill her father.
right.
And now he just shows up and he thinks that he's going to see this great situation. Instead, Olga's in the shackle
Yeah,
device. Isaac is roaming around free, and so he's furious at
yeah,
this plan gone wrong
right,
that has nothing to do with Olga. She was a
right.
pawn. She was a pawn in the
Yeah.
plan at best,
And really a
and
victim. Yeah,
and honestly a victim,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
But of course, he pulled that on the wrong person
yeah,
because now he's in the basement of Mo's in the basement on the good side of the basement, while Isaac is on the other side, still trying to saw his way out.
Right.
And Mo is saying, "Yeah, no, no, come on out. We'll, we'll get the police. We'll
Yeah,
get off the
you're
island
saved.
here. You're safe
Everything's
now.
gonna be fine.
I'm here to save you."
Yeah,
Like you said, he's
yeah,
Mister I'll take care of it, but he's
right.
really Mister No loose ends.
Yeah,
And so as he's saying all these things, we, the audience, see Mo pick up a log, a log from the basement, ready to brain Isaac the
yeah.
second he comes out of there.
You can
And this,
almost see him calculating, oh, wait a second. No, my new narrative is going to be this guy went to the island to hurt Olga, and I had to kill him and save
right.
Olga because this guy's a bad guy,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tell you all about his bad dad. Like you can see him writing
Yeah.
the story of how to
Yes.
weasel out again. And that goes back to that other narrative of you are tethered to all of your bad deeds. You
Yep.
can't escape all the crappy things you've done, and you
Right.
constantly have to fix them and
Yep.
maneuver. And it's just such a wonderful concept of this tethered and
Yep.
stuck and everything else. So then things get great.
Things get wonderful because the sawing continues, but then you hear the intercom, which is right
Mhm.
nearby, go off.
Right.
And you hear Isaac saying, "You know what? I climbed up through a vent and I got out through another vent exit. I'm on the second floor. Come on up and let's get off this island. Let's get the heck
Yeah.
out of here."
I've freed myself.
Right.
I'm outside. Come on, let's go.
Yep.
And it's
But the
still going.
sawing
Yeah.
continues. So we, the audience, know, well, there's only one other person in there who could be
Mhm.
continuing to saw,
Ghost mom.
and it was Mom. And Mo is starting to figure it out too. He's like,
Yeah.
well, wait a minute, that's, if you're up there, then I know I buried her in
Yeah.
there. What's
It
going
was,
on
yeah.
here?
Yeah.
And of course it was her. And you have this wonderful, really, like, they really took their time with it. I think if we were talking about an American picture, like you said, how things
Yeah.
are so much faster, it
Yeah.
would have just been her immediately popping her head out with a huge musical "Bwah!"
Yeah. It would have been different.
and it just would have been different. And this was just such a wonderful slow, you could just see her head kind of peeking out behind the door and then slowly turning to look at Mo, who is hiding. And that's the end of Mo. I mean, as far as we know, that's the last we see of either of them.
Right.
And so Olga had also locked the basement door
Right.
as well, with Mo in
And
there.
doesn't she shoot Mo?
Yeah, she shot. I did mean to say
Yeah.
that she shot Mo once with the crossbow bolt, I think in the back of his shoulder, because she was again furious at him. So his plan was probably going to have to be to kill Olga too,
Yeah.
because he could have talked his way out of it, like you said, if it wasn't for that. But Olga was clearly onto him enough that, I mean,
Well,
she shot him with the crossbow. She tried to kill him. So
Olga learns
yeah,
that Isaac's story is I didn't lock your dad in. So
yeah,
Olga now all of a sudden has a complicated story here where she's like, well, like and this is why again about the unanswered questions. Well, we don't know. So maybe Mo locked him in, came back and set this guy up to do it. Maybe the ghost locked him in.
yeah,
Maybe Olga locked him in. Who knows who locked who in? But now Olga is back in a position of I don't know who to trust. Maybe, and
right,
it's funny where Olga makes the decision to shoot her uncle and then lock him in the basement.
right.
And then maybe Olga knows she's been in the house. She's discovered, we don't know when she discovered her mom's in the basement. Maybe Olga has this relationship that we don't even know about her mom in the basement.
Well,
Maybe,
it's
who
entirely
knows?
possible that she might have locked Mo in the basement, knowing her mother's going to take care of him.
Sure,
That's a
sure.
possibility.
Right.
I really think it wouldn't have made sense for Mo to have locked his brother in the basement and then asked Isaac to do it, because then you're involving Isaac for no reason
No reason.
whatsoever. You're creating a loose end for no reason.
Well, that's true.
I really feel like the mother locked him
Yeah.
in the basement, that she got out through a vent, went around, locked the door, came back, and then
Yeah.
stayed at her resting place sealed
Yeah.
up, from the other
Yeah.
side. But we don't know. We will
Right.
never really know.
Right.
But that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that
Yeah.
I don't
And
think
she
Olga.
loves doing that. She loves
Yeah,
locking him in the basement. That's her
yes,
favorite thing
that's
to do.
that's her thing. That
Yeah,
was her
that's
thing.
her
That
thing.
was that
Yeah,
she
she likes to
she
torture
she
people.
loved to torture him, especially him. Uh, and so that was great. And now basically we're wrapping up the movie. At
Yeah.
this point, Mo has been taken care of. We don't know if the mother can now lay at rest in a peace, or if she's just kind of, like you said, have a sitcom with her, Olga and the dead mom or
Yeah.
whatever. You
They're
have
just
no
gonna live
idea
on the island. It's like
exactly.
Gilligan's Island,
Yes,
just
yes.
them, having a good
And
time. Yeah.
and so of course we see Isaac going to escape, but before he does, Olga is now at that back cottage door overlooking the dog, and Isaac is freeing the dog.
Yeah.
And so he's untethering the dog. And Isaac and Olga look at each other because she still has the crossbow. If she
Yeah.
wanted to, she still could have shot him. And I think at
Yeah.
that point, she finally figured out that he's innocent,
Yeah.
or at least innocent enough to not deserve death. And she then turns around and goes back into the house. Now she was emotionally tethered to the house. Now she's physically tethered to it. And the
Yeah.
presumption is Isaac takes the dog and leaves. But the movie does just end. So we
Yeah.
really don't know what else happened. You and I speculated that because Isaac is a decent person, that he almost certainly left one of the keys in the house in a place that she could reach it so that
Yeah.
she could unlock herself.
Yeah.
But I think even if she does, I think she's just so emotionally tethered that that house is just her home, and then she's just never going to leave it, tethered physically or not. I think that she'll never leave that house.
Yeah, and it's 100%, and it's an interesting thing because I love the unanswered questions, but I also like that idea of we have Olga tethered in the house, they're staring at each other. He absolutely is a good guy. He takes the dog with him, fine. But I had commented to Dominic, I said, when we had that visual of the mother in the basement with Mo, I would have been happy if the movie ended there. I would have
Yes,
been
yeah,
satisfied and happy, and that would have been fine with me. But the fact that, sorry, I got a little notification here. The fact that um, we are now allowed to see that
yeah,
Isaac is not a bad guy and that
yeah,
he takes the dog and he's just really sort of a vulnerable person in the world himself. And he is freed, and we're going to assume he's just going to get himself rowed back and he's fine. Um, but I did love that it ended there. Like I was very
yeah,
happy with all of the unanswered questions. I was very happy with the way the movie ended. And I am going to fall hard on I someone went back to this island and
oh yes.
someone, right, and someone did something because what we learn 5 years later is that someone had retrieved the and
The
I'm going to call
rabbit
it like the
toy.
monkey thing, but it's the rabbit toy, and that rabbit toy made it to the oddity shop. And we
Yes.
know that because we see it. It's the little Easter egg and we see it in oddity. So that
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the sister. I don't know if it was Olga. I don't know I
Yeah.
don't if someone was cleaning out the house. I don't know what happened, but someone does at some point go to the island and bring the rabbit back. So
Somehow that toy makes its
yeah,
way to
which I
the
loved.
oddity
Yeah,
shop, which is
yeah,
also, in Cork.
yeah, yeah,
But we never actually did mention that there are several times where that rabbit would play,
yeah.
and we were wondering why and what it was about. And it essentially was like a Geiger counter for the mom, or a
That's fun.
divining rod, however you want to describe it. But basically, as it would get closer to the mother, it would play and play and play more intensely. And that's why, going all the way back to the beginning ish, when that rabbit started to play and his chain was yanked, that's how you know that the mother was out and about the house
Yeah,
and was just kind of messing with him a little bit,
yeah,
pulling on, literally yanking his chain,
yeah,
literally yanking his
yeah,
chain.
yeah,
And so no, but I love that it shows up in Oddity.
yeah,
Pardon. I love the movie Oddity too. You could see that they took so much of the same
yeah,
ideas and themes, the unreliable kind of, unlikable guy, just the inanimate object moving in between when we see them, which is very, I think it's almost more unsettling for something to change position than it is to watch it move.
Yeah.
To me, that's much more unsettling, because then you
Yeah.
even doubt yourself. You're like, wait, was that different? It's not as obvious, which makes it even
Right.
scarier to me, at least. So,
Right. Yeah,
uh,
no. And I also liked the idea of, in Oddity, again, spoiler, we had this lovely angel baby who was presented as somebody that you would not necessarily trust or want to be around. And that was the recovered patient from the
yes,
mental
yes,
hospital.
that's correct.
And then we have Isaac, who is again, we're like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he good? And so there's that internal
Right.
struggle too of what we don't
Who do
really
you
know.
trust? Yeah,
And I love that, and I hope this director does more and more and more movies because I
yeah.
will fall for that every time, and
It's
I will
it's
wanna see
wonderful.
that every time.
And it's great because
Yeah,
it really is, he's
yeah,
kind of a master of setting up a
yeah,
scenario where you want to say, well, what would I do?
right.
you know, in
Yeah,
Oddity, would you open that door to that
yeah,
patient?
right.
In this movie, would you say, you know what? I think I'm just going to pass on the whole thing here.
Yeah,
Just what would you do in these
yeah,
almost impossible to win situations?
yeah,
And again, it all is grounded. And oh yeah, we've got an undead person roaming the house, and
yeah,
and that's okay in the movie. It's
yeah,
okay. It's
yeah.
it's fine because
It made perfect sense that
it
the mom
did.
was an undead mom. Um,
Yeah.
so I loved it. I guess I will any last thoughts on the plot yet, or?
I honestly, I just thought it was great. It was a really good slow burn. It's tough to convey when we talk about it how much of a sense of uneasiness
Yeah,
there is to it, and how great the cat and mouse is, and
yeah,
and seeing Isaac test his limitations, and seeing Olga try to find out answers, and while
yeah.
you're also trying to piece together this bigger mystery. I think it's an excellent film.
Well, yeah, exactly. I loved it. I thought it was great. I do have to say again, I'm fine with all the answered questions, but it's kind of a movie that you can think about for a long time. Like maybe Olga's syndrome was because of just growing up in that environment. Like you
Oh,
don't like it could be chemical, it could just be her
sure.
environmental, right? So I'll ask you the question, does this satisfy the 50 minutes of fear criteria?
I would say yes, if I can also count dread as
Yes,
fear, which
you
I
can.
think is fair to do.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in dread, I mean, there is this just uncomfortable feeling of impending doom from almost the very first moment.
Yeah.
It just, and it just never let up. So I
Yeah.
think I would definitely say that it qualifies. How about you?
Yeah, no, I absolutely did. I think that, like I said, what did it for me was have the rowboat scene. Once you're telling me that you have someone who can't swim and you're putting them very low to water, you that's a problem, right? So
Yeah.
then and that dread stayed with me throughout the whole thing. And I was really worried. I was worried about the characters. I was very annoyed with Mo. I loved the jumps. I loved the first jump scare, and they came by it honestly.
Yeah.
The mother is visually stunning. I'll put the actress's name in the comments too, but she is visually stunning and she's so good. And I loved it. I think it's absolutely a 50 minutes of fear. And you definitely should check this out. You should definitely check out Mousetrap if you've never seen that. You should definitely check
Well,
out
Mousetrap
Oddity
was the
too.
Agatha Christie play. Death Trap was the
Oh,
movie
right.
I was talking
Sorry.
about. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Death Trap. Yeah.
but check out
Yeah.
Mousetrap too.
Check it
It's a
all
great
out.
Agatha
Yeah.
Christie story. But
Yeah.
yes, and Oddity as well.
Yeah.
I love that the mother was always smiling,
Yeah.
regardless. It was just
Well,
this
that's what I
smile.
mean. I think
Yeah,
she's kind of like so mad that she's not going to even let death bother her. She's like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I'm
yeah,
still doing my thing. Yeah,
yeah. I'm
I
still
picked on
having
my
fun.
husband. You can't get me down." So I absolutely positively loved it. And yeah, so Rich, again, tell us where we can find your podcast.
Oh, Rumpled Trenchcoat, a Columbo podcast on YouTube, and
Yeah.
the audio version on SoundCloud.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. And we will be, well, I don't know. I think we're looking to do Barbarian and we might get a special guest star from Melanie on that one. But we'll, more to come. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and look for our short films online too. Okay, thanks, guys. Have a great day.